So the person you can't see because of technology. My name is Debbie Orol. I am known as a rogue nurse. I worked as a nurse for well over 25 years and realized that our system of healthcare is a system of not healthcare, but rather quick fixes and really not looking at our health. So I went on my own journey because I continue to go on my own journey because of different health issues, and have found that integrating with traditional ways of looking at health really serves people more. So I will tell you right now that anything that I say is not about not using Western medicine, not going to a doctor, not using medications, but more about teaching people how to live in harmony with our lifestyle, which is what Ayurveda does. One of the things that I do is I work and teach people how to incorporate essential oils and supplements into their life, and came to essential oils because of Ayurveda. As I was researching things that Ayurveda uses and incorporates into the practice, one of the things that I did come across are herbs and essential oils. So we will talk a little bit more about that. Okay. So Ayurveda is a combination of two words. It is a Sanskrit, so traditional Hindu, Indian type philosophy. It is a traditional system of medicine that is based on the idea of balance in bodily systems, and it uses diet, herbal treatment, yogic breathing, and following the cycles of nature, which is something I feel we've really lost in our societies, that ability to follow the cycles of nature. It is a connection of mind, body, and spirit. And in Ayurveda, the belief is that if one of these is out of balance, mind, body, spirit, then our bodies become out of balance. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So one of the things that Ayurveda really focuses on is something called the dosha, or life force, or constitution. So as we sit in this group, all of us have a little bit of a different body type. We may have come from a different background, and we may have come from a different country, but we have a different body type. And so Ayurveda really focuses on the fact that with these different body type, our bodies need different things. So when right now they are talking about keto diet or paleo diet or a vegetarian diet or whatever diet, you can't lump everybody into the same system. So they look at something that is called a dosha. With the doshas, they look at the elements of the air, the ether or space, air, earth, water, and fire. So as you look at that, they use terms like vata, kapha, and pitta. Those are the three main body types. Obviously, nobody is exactly the same, and you can be a combination of two, sometimes three body types. So I, being a little shorter, being a little more voluptuous, round, and also having a fiery personality, I am a combination of that kapha pitta or pitta kapha type of body type. Somebody who is very tall and slender and blonde, someone who is a fast runner might be more of that vata type that is very airy and light. And so when you look at these types and you look at what your constitution is, it is going to help you discover more of how you should be in life. And they look at what you should eat, how you should exercise, all of those things. So I can't run. I'm not a runner. And that is a very hurtful exercise to my body. I also tried doing at one point in time Bikram yoga, which that heat just drains me. I knew people who left a yoga practice, a Bikram yoga practice, feeling energized and just lively. I used to feel like a wet noodle. It was not a good thing for me because of that heavier, earthy pitta tendency. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And I can totally see how I love to swim. Swimming is such a great exercise for me. I'm so happy to swim. I love to be surrounded by water. All the other exercises look like work to me.
Yeah.
Swimming, it looks, I'm drawn to it, like a moth to a flame.
Exactly.
So this kind of makes sense.
Exactly.
That, that would just be a good match for me, and that's okay.
That's right. Exactly. That's one of the things that we have to learn to do is figure out what works for us, but also understanding how our bodies work, who we are, and then we'll learn about some of the other things that can affect that. One of those is food and what we eat. Within Ayurveda, there is a tendency to be vegetarian. But there is also a philosophy that there is no good or bad food to ingest. It becomes looking at, and it's much my philosophy, how it serves you and what it does in your body. So, when you look at coffee, and I will go to coffee because I am decaffing again for the millionth time in my life. When you look at coffee, it's not a good or bad substance. It's what we do with it for ourselves. So the way that our society has come to use coffee is you get up in the morning, you have that cup of coffee before you do anything, before you put anything in the body, and it's a stimulant. And then when it leaves your body, you end up crashing. So you can use it as a tool. In fact, in Europe, they use it after a meal as a digestive because it's bitter and it helps with digestion. So it's looking at things like that. But certainly, one of the premises is connecting with nature, and we'll talk more about food and what you're eating and when you're eating, etc. in a bit. It very much focuses on the fact that we have 6 tastes in our body. And if you look, sweet is one of those tastes. So, people who are like, don't eat fruit, don't eat sugar, don't eat any carbs. Sweet is one of the tastes that we need to embrace and look at. Now, I'm certainly not saying that we're going to be going and eating cake and cookies and donuts and satisfy that sweet. So what I teach people is how to honor that sweet taste in a way that is healthful and is going to serve our bodies. I talk about serving our bodies, what serves us. One of the tastes that we've lost, unfortunately, and I think is again an imbalance in our body, is that bitter taste. We don't seem to be able to enjoy that bitter taste.
Well, what about coffee? Coffee is bitter.
Coffee is bitter, and again, some people, when people drink that coffee. Years ago, I said to somebody, "Oh, I love coffee," and she says, "No, you don't. You love the cream and sugar that you have with the coffee."
Well, she wouldn't be able to say that to me because I drink my coffee black.
Right. So
yeah, we drink our coffee black here.
Great. So you have embraced that bitter taste, but a lot of people haven't, because I see, I just had a friend that left this morning. She goes, the only place I have sugar is in my coffee. You know, and I was one of those people that had 2 heaping teaspoons of sugar in my coffee and cream and creamer and the creamers that we have. So it's looking at how to balance this in our life. And a lot of times in a perfect Ayurvedic meal, you have a combination of all of these tastes.
So yeah, I'm curious about the astringent taste. What is that about? I recognize everything else, of course, the onion, the pepper.
Astringent tastes are more of, I think, the herbal taste. It's sour. It's kind of a combination of sweet and sour. It's not exactly one or the other. A lot of the herbs that are green will have more of that astringent taste. Think of something like cilantro.
Well, I do love cilantro.
That's going to have more of that. So when you think about cilantro, it's not hot or pungent. It's not really bitter. It's not salty or sweet or sour. It's just kind of got this other kind of taste to it.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm going backwards again.
Well, I like pomegranates, but I like to add a little bit of sugar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it without sugar. I put it in my salad.
Okay.
I make mine sour. Mine's sour.
Yeah, it's learning to love the taste of things as they are in nature. We want to change the taste and add sweet to so much. I know people who add things. So it's really being mindful of how things taste in their natural form. And it's a great exercise to do, to be with your food. So that's another premise of Ayurveda, is not eating while you're doing other things, so that it helps with your digestion. They also very much look at the cycles of the day and have ways of being with that cycle. We've lost our circadian rhythms and the ability to be in touch with that circadian rhythm, because now we have light that can last forever. We have the internet that is, on forever. And it can affect our life cycles. So who here has heard of intermittent fasting?
Oh, I'm doing it right now. Very successful.
Okay.
Yeah, I do that often.
So in Ayurveda, intermittent fasting is nothing new. But Ayurveda does it a little bit differently. Their belief system is that you need to feed your body in the morning, that after you've had this period of sleep and not eating, that you need to have a breakfast. So they usually have their breakfast around 8 or 9 o'clock. And they have the breakfast is a medium, moderate breakfast, not very heavy, not super light. So you're trying to gather energy the first of the day. You might, the first thing that they usually do is have a glass of water to rehydrate your body, and then maybe do some meditation and yoga, some light stretching or a walk, and then have a breakfast, getting prepared for the day. It's the time of action. They eat their heaviest meal, and it's something I would love to embrace. It's very difficult because I eat dinner with my husband, and so I'm trying to adjust that right now. But the suggestion is to have your heaviest meal during the day. It's when your metabolism is highest, you've been active, you're going, there's more movement. And so having your heaviest meal during the day, and then your lightest meal in the evening. So something very light. And they actually recommend ending eating by 4 or 5 o'clock. And so that's where your intermittent fasting starts.
Yeah, that
Ayurveda.
sounds good.
So yeah, I'm doing similar. I mean, I'm breaking my fast around 11 or 12 o'clock and having my heaviest meal at that moment, and then eating a much lighter meal in the evening, just something. A lot of times brothy soup, just something, because if I
Right.
totally skip it, then I'm starving and I don't want that. But so I'm eating between like 12 and 6.
Right. And that's great. And then because you need that evening time that to assimilate, to prepare. And then that there's a time to slow down. We keep going. We're doing our work till 10, 11. We're online, we're chatting and everything else. So they look at, when you look at your circadian rhythm, your deepest sleep is like, you start to get into a deep sleep around 10, 11 o'clock. So their recommendation in Ayurveda, and again, this has to adjust a little bit with the seasons, because you look at your seasons, and obviously in the summer it's a little bit lighter later, so there can be some adjustment there. But as you also look at that constitution of the Vata, Pitta, Kapha, it's broken up as what is the thing that's happening, the way that the constitution is throughout the day. So 8 a.m. Kapha, you're very airy, you're starting to wake up. Pitta, you've got that fire, you're highly energized. In Vata, you're starting to get heavier and slow down. And then night, same thing. So Kapha, you might, have a little bit of airiness. You're starting to be heavier and slow down again in the evening. Pitta is when you're dreaming. That's when your heaviest REM cycle is. And then Vata, you're starting that airiness is starting to wake you up again. So they look at the cycles of nature and the cycles of what is going on.
Oh, what a beautiful picture, Deb. Thank you.
I looked at which yoga pictures. I love that one. So again, it's connection with nature, and they incorporate things like yoga. Esther was saying that she does her yoga in the morning. Yay. Meditation is very important, and then again, connection with nature. We've lost that connection. We wear shoes everywhere. And Linda recently asked us to post the 10th picture on our screen, and I usually try in the morning to stand barefoot on my earth as long as it's dry, and actually put my face to the sun, because that sun, we've kind of shunned the sun completely, but that early morning sun before, excuse me, before it's really, really hot, getting that on your face, getting that is going to help to stimulate what's known as the pineal gland, and really, really wake you up, and affects your mood so much at that time. That first early morning sun feels so happy and bright, and is going to affect your mood. So we have, again, and why.
I don't know why you're, it keeps
I
going back.
definitely agree with grounding yourself by going outside in the morning and enjoying that morning sun. And I go jogging barefoot sometimes too, and I get in the river and I meditate in the rivers.
Nice.
I'm a tree hugger.
Nice. So again, all of those things are so important for our health, and we've created these walls around us. We live in our buildings and we don't connect with nature. The other thing, and I'm going to do a little exercise with you here, if I have a minute, that that Ayurveda believes in, is that we need to really do connected breathing exercises. And there are many of them. One of the simplest ones that is created to calm our mind and to center ourselves is alternate nostril breathing. Has anybody done alternate nostril breathing?
I don't even know what that
Yeah.
is.
Okay, great. You
It
can't,
works.
you can't see, so I'm going to have to direct you. So what alternate nostril breathing is if you look at this woman, she has two fingers, her middle finger and her pointer finger on her forehead. And then what she is doing with her thumb and her ring finger is blocking off one side nostril. And then you're going to breathe in through the open nostril. And then block the other nostril and breathe out through the opposite side. And then breathe in through that open nostril, block it off, and then breathe out through that open side. So if you're ever stressed or whatever, doing a couple of alternate nostril breaths is a really good way to calm and center the body. So you're going to breathe in one side, block it off, and breathe out the other. Breathe in that side, block it off, and then breathe out the other. So that is a calming breath. There are other breaths like breath of fire, which is more of an energizing breath, which you are more breathing deep from the abdomen. So it's more like a where you're pulling in your abdomen. So there's a lot of types of breath work that they use in Ayurveda for different reasons. Yeesh. Okay. The other thing that they do is and use is a lot of self-care rituals, either with a practitioner like this picture depicts, or there are a lot of things that you can do yourself. In Ayurveda, there's a big connection with oil in many ways. They use oil for cleansing internally, they use oil for stimulating externally. And the types of oils that they usually use, so in cooking and internal cleansing, when they do cleanses, they use ghee. Everybody familiar with ghee?
Yeah, that's that butter, clarified butter, right?
Clarified butter. So they believe that that is one of the best oils for your body, the way that you assimilate in cooking. I've been talking a lot to people about oils lately, that the oils that we have, the processed oils that we have in our society are creating inflammation in our body and a lot of problems. So traditional Western people say canola oil is healthy. I don't agree with that. They will say use vegetable oils. I don't agree with that. So the oils that I use almost exclusively are ghee, coconut oil, olive oil, and avocado oil. And again, they use both internally and externally. There is a practice in Ayurveda called Abhyanga, which is something that you do to yourself and for yourself. And it's basically taking oil. You can use sesame oil and unrefined sesame oil. A lot of the Ayurvedic practitioners out there, and I'll tell you later some of the ones that I follow, have oils that you can use that are infused with herbs or essential oils. So I, a lot of times, will, before I shower, take my oil, warm it, sometimes when I'm in my sauna, and just start bottom of the feet, rub up. When you're on your joints, you want to do circular motions, and on the limbs, you want to do long motions. And it does a couple of things. It actually oils your joints. So I've been really embracing this lately because I have been having some issues, and I went and spoke to an orthopedic, and we've decided that I have severe osteoarthritis, severe osteoarthritis. So what I'm doing now is really focusing on oiling my joints, rubbing those oils into my joints and stimulating that. And I've only been doing it as focused as I have on my joints for a few days, and I'm actually really feeling a difference. And I'm using castor oil.
I was just going to recommend that. As soon as you took a break, I was going to say I've been using castor oil and in a different way completely, but
castor oil is an amazing oil, and that's another thing that they do, again, internally for cleansing, but also externally. There's a whole system of castor oil packs that you can do to help with digestion and pull out toxins. But as I've been exploring what else I can do for my body to deal with this arthritis that I have, I'm looking at, okay, diet. I've got a good diet, but okay, let's look at it even deeper. What can I add? What can I take away? What can I add ritual wise that is going to help? And this oil practice, I did it, but I didn't do it with as much of a focus on my joints as I have been. So yeah, castor oil is an amazing substance. Come on. Again, self-massage, or I did a retreat last year, and one of the things that we did was hand massage. The really great thing to get a partner and do, very simple way of stimulating different acupressure points, even on yourself. But it's stimulating those joints that we have. The other thing that Ayurveda really looks at is the lymph system. And you want to, there's different ways to stimulate the lymph system. This is dry brushing. The Abhyanga is another, bouncing. So one of my exercise forms lately is just to hold on to the edge. Simple thing to do for 2 minutes. Hold on to the edge and just go up and down on your toes.
yeah.
And that is going to stimulate the lymph system. You'd be surprised at 2 minutes of that, and you will feel it in your calves.
Oh yeah, and the calf is the second heart, because your heart pushes the blood out, your calf pushes
Exactly.
the blood out.
So it's really a very great and simple tool.
I'm only able to do it 30 seconds. I'm aspiring to get up to 2 minutes, but I stand at the edge of a step so that my heel can actually go lower.
Yep.
And then lift up and lower and lift up. And so that I get a really good swing from my ankle. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So why don't you go back to diet just for a second? Because as I was talking before about the cycles of nature, I want you to really think about diet. And so again, in our society now, everybody is like, oh, no dairy, no wheat, no this, no that. And for some people, and what I do is I work with people to get in touch with their body so that they really understand what's happening in nature, what's happening in your body, being in touch with yourself and listening to yourself. There's a couple of my slides are not here, I don't think. But if you think about, we're in spring right now. And when you think about what's growing in nature, so right now is when that bitter, astringent type food is there. Things are just starting to grow, but most of what's out there in nature are things like roots, dandelion greens, things that are more, you're starting to have lighter, you still need some warming foods because you still have those cool evenings. So not quite ready for that heavy, juicy, sweet that is going to happen in the summer. When you think about, so you're going to have to start thinking about some berries. That's what you should be eating if you're eating fruit. So think about what's growing now, what's happening in nature, in your cycles. When you think about summer, which is coming up, you have a lot of sweet, juicy, cooling fruits. This is when that heat spice really shouldn't be eaten very much. Some people think the opposite, that heat is actually going to cool you off. I know a lot of cultures that have spicy foods are hot cultures. We were talking about that the other day. But this is the time that you have those fruits, those juicy fruits, watermelon, cantaloupe, peaches. This is the time to do that. I had a discussion with my husband. We were somewhere and it was in the middle of winter and they had a fruit bowl that had watermelon in it. I'm like, it's winter. Why are you eating watermelon? It's cooling to your body. It's not when you want to eat things like watermelon. So thinking about those cycles. When you think about fall, that is when, if you are going to eat grains and maybe add some wheat or maybe add some meat, that is when those grains are being harvested. That is when that heavy, sweeter things like the winter squashes are going to be starting to show up. And in the winter, you want to add your warming foods and spices, heavier soups and stews and things that are going to nourish you and keep you warm. And you know, in Ayurveda, it's like, okay, it is the time to maybe put on a little bit of weight to insulate our bodies. I'm not saying, you know, go put on 30 pounds, but this is a time that it's okay. And this is a time to sleep more and rest more and go in more. So looking at what is happening in nature.
But you can also insulate your body with more exercise in the winter, like warming up your muscles.
Sure, I think that is important also, but it's also important that people rest more at that time. So you have to figure out what feels good for you, and are you getting that balance of,
because we can't generalize, like the watermelon thing. Like my friends come from all over the world and they'll eat watermelon in the middle of winter because in their culture it's warm in their countries in the winter time, and they can eat watermelon all year round, and so they don't have to switch to colder foods. They just do that, like, I mean, warmer foods in the winter. They do that when they're sick. They'll eat warmer foods, but when they're okay and healthy, like in Thailand, in India, and Mexico, and South America, they'll eat watermelon and papayas and cold foods all year round.
because it's growing there. It's growing in nature. So the key that I'm trying to express in this is going with the cycles in nature. Here in North Carolina, you're not going to have watermelon growing in the middle of winter. It's just not going to happen. So people who are eating watermelon in the middle of winter here in North Carolina are doing a disservice to their body. People asked me about a raw food diet. You know, when I was going through my coaching course, one of the things we look at is all the different types of diets and how they serve you and don't serve you. And people were asking about a raw food diet and whether I thought it was good or not. And the thing I said is, it depends. That's the key about all of this, is it depends. Are you a young person living in Hawaii eating a raw food diet, or are you an old person living in upstate New York in the middle of winter eating a raw food diet? That young person living in the heat is going to be flourishing on that raw food diet. That older person who is weaker and colder is going to want warmer foods, heavier foods, more nourishing foods. So again, that constitution has changed. That dosha probably has changed a little, because now that older person is more frail, is needing something different. So all of those things have to be taken into consideration. But I'm talking about here in North Carolina because that's where we live. But yes, Esther, you're right. If somebody is living in a warm climate and that food is available to them naturally and regularly, then that's fine.
Yeah, because here it would have to be picked before it was ripe, shipped, and it ripened during shipping, which is always second best. And then we get it here. One of the things I noticed about fruit here, when I go to Mexico and I eat mango, it has 10 times the flavor than the mangoes that are in this country. And that's because in this country, it's that shipping process. It doesn't have the same nutrient value. It doesn't have the same flavor because a lot is lost in this whole shipping process. The other thing I was going to say, Deb, is that I think that we should abstain from wheat, but not because of wheat itself. If we lived in Europe, we should definitely have wheat. But in this country, what we're doing to wheat is toxic. And I think we should boycott wheat because of the practices in place to harvest it with the Monsanto and all this. That is why I think we have such a strong presence of people having allergic reactions to wheat. It's not really the wheat, it's what we're doing to the wheat.
So the reality about wheat is that there are over 400 varieties of wheat. Spelt is a wheat. Einkorn is a wheat. Einkorn is one of the most ancient wheats out there. So again, it's being mindful. You are so right that what people are reacting to here in this country is not the wheat. They're reacting to the glycosides that are in that wheat without doubt. So if you are somebody who, occasionally wants to have wheat, I will tell you, downtown Raleigh has a place called Bolted. They grind their own wheat. It's a ancient variety. If and when I very rarely do have a sourdough starter, and that's the other thing, sourdough is going to be a better thing. So as I'm doing this, is just a touch. There's so much and so much depth to everything that goes on in our body. And it's an experiment. And one of my slides, and I don't know where it is, was you want to get in touch with yourself. You want to know your body and know yourself and know what makes you feel energetic. I am now 2 weeks off of coffee, and every time I do this, I say the same thing. I am more energized. I wake up more energized when I'm off of my coffee, because I'm not having those ups and downs, dips. My energy is more stable. I just came off of a trip. I got home at 2 o'clock in the morning. I was up late again last night, and I thought I was going to be exhausted, and I'm not. So it's a matter of listening to yourself and looking at what is actually happening in your body, and how you can mitigate that. And so, it's incorporating different things. As I said, I came to essential oils through looking and researching Ayurveda, which uses essential oils, which uses different herbs. And there's some similarities to traditional Chinese medicine, which also looks at cycles and rhythms. We've lost our ability to be in touch with what is going on in our body, where our eating is stimulated by what's happening around us, other people, commercials, labeling. I walk into a store and I've been caught with this often, these labels, it's keto, natural, healthy, and it's often not. I'm really, I have considered, and I think I might still do that, and do a label reading class where, I work with people to look at what is actually in there. I bought some, when I was traveling, I bought some powdered bone broth. And drinking that, and then I thought, oh, I never really looked at what's in here. And it, first ingredients is dehydrated bone broth. Second ingredient was natural flavor. And that is a red flag to me. That is what does that mean? Because MSG, monosodium glutamate, is a natural flavor. And I'm guessing that their natural flavor is probably some MSG. And I'm going to write the company and ask them, what does that mean? So it's questioning these things and how it's affecting our body and how it's affecting our health. I have no idea what time it is.
It's time to wind up. Put it on the last slide so we can finish off.
My last slide, if I can get that one back. So this is me. I am just passionate about really helping people to understand how their body works. And it's a journey. I'm still on that journey of, like what really is happening and why is this happening and why is our health, it's like I have diabetes because, oh, my family had diabetes. No, there's so much more and it's so much more complicated than that. Oh, I have arthritis. Okay, well, let's look at that and break it down. So there I am. I mean, I'm not here, but for a